Hey, what is up, Bears fans? Welcome to the Bears Huddle podcast with me, your host, Aaron James, the channel that brings you all your latest Bears news, your UK take on all your latest Bears news. Guys, from the wrong side of the pond, yes, I'm here in sunny old Blighty in England. It's actually sunny today. It's not raining. I know it's going to be pretty amazing for you guys to think that it isn't actually raining in England, where it normally does rain 24/7. Anyway, we're going to talk Caleb Williams. We're going to talk agenda against Caleb. We're going to talk how training camp the last couple of days, Caleb has been one of the absolute standouts, and is it finally coming together for the Bears? Let's just change that bottom thing, because we're not doing a DB report, we're doing a Caleb report. There we go. Right, guys, got my Monsters of the Midway t-shirt on. Love a bit of Monsters of the Midway. Right, let's talk a little bit of Caleb. So look, I feel there's been very much an agenda against Caleb in terms of, the media. Talking about, obviously, he's struggling. Tyson Bagent is balling. Tyson's getting the offense faster. Caleb is really bad at processing. Caleb is really bad at this. Caleb is really bad at that. You hear likes of Colin Cowherd, and we know that Colin Cowherd is an idiot. I mean, the guy is an absolute idiot. Colin Cowpat, as I call him, Mr. Clickbait Shock Jock himself. But look, I think Caleb, has been doing a lot better than people think he is, and not, obviously there's pressure on Caleb. Of course there is. The guy was the number one pick in the draft. Ryan Poles, Ben Johnson are pinning their futures pretty much to this guy, and Ryan Poles in particular, obviously, who took Caleb in the draft. So, this is a guy who has to deliver for the Bears. This is a franchise-changing player. If Caleb does not work out, then this sets the franchise back again. We have got to go and find another QB. Probably looking at another draft. You're probably looking even at an expensive trade or whatever to bring in the quarterback to lead the Bears forward. And look, you're always going to work against that agenda of, this is Chicago, where quarterbacks go to die. Not since the days, I think, of Jay Cutler maybe and Jim McMahon have we had quarterbacks who've actually had some national credibility. In terms of those analysts, in terms of fans from other rosters and other teams as well. Now, everyone's got to talk about Caleb and what a bad year he had. In terms of his rookie year, it was a disaster. It was terrible. Guys, I don't think it was anywhere near as bad as some people make it out to be, especially when you kind of put into place those mitigating factors. Now, we're going to talk as well about the last 2 days at training camp and obviously what veteran Jonah Jackson has been saying about his quarterback as well. So hang on for that. And obviously the partnership with Roma Dunze, which is coming on just beautifully. Right, first of all, let's look back at Caleb's year last year. This is Caleb last year, the 2024 regular season stats. Caleb threw for 3,541 yards, tied 17th overall in the NFL amongst quarterbacks. He threw 20 TD passes, tied 15th in the NFL. Six interceptions, tied 78. That was a very low number of interceptions, perhaps down to the fact that he did take less risks with his throws. Something I know that Ben Johnson wants him to kind of a little bit put more in this year, a few more risk taking, a few more trying to fit it into tight windows, a few more pushing it that little bit further than he did last season. A QB rating of 46.7, 28th ranked, which is not great in the NFL. But you know what? You've got to kind of take into account that is a guy working with not only an absolutely dreadful head coach in Matt Eberflus, one of the worst offensive coordinators in the NFL, in Shane Waldron, and behind an offensive line that was about as effective as putting 5 shopping carts in front of him. An offensive line that basically let their quarterback get sacked 64 times last season, I think it was in the end. And he was constantly running for his life, was Caleb. So those figures are not actually that bad. 3,541 yards behind a shocking offensive line with a shocking offensive coordinator, are decent stats from this guy. So, the base for working from where Caleb is working is not as bad as a lot of people are making it out to be. Yes, Caleb still has weaknesses. And I think because he was the number one overall pick, there was an expectation that he comes in and that he hits the ground running and that he is a star from day one. This is still a guy learning. I think we've all got to remember the step up from playing college ball to playing NFL ball is huge. Yes, there are those who are gifted and talented from day one who will come in, take it, run with it, and be amazing. That's football. That's life, guys. We all have that in our jobs as well, don't we? But Caleb has got this going into his sophomore year, working now with a better OC, a better head coach who has an offensive mind, a guy who has been likened to the offensive geniuses of Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, for example, in Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, whose offense in Detroit went from strength to strength. Ben Johnson, who took Jared Goff from being a very much game manager, average quarterback to being MVP candidate last season. This is a guy who knows how to get the best out of quarterbacks. Declan Doyle, obviously, as well, very exciting young OC coming in. JT Barrett, the quarterbacks coach, very good. Antoine Randall, I know he's a wide receivers coach, but still having an input on the offense. This is an exciting offensive staff that will help Caleb move forward. The offensive line has been regenerated. Yes, we've heard about Darnell Wright's recent struggles from Dan Rauscher. We'll talk about those in another video. The line has, though, been refreshed with Jonah Jackson, Drew Dolman, and Joe Tooney. Obviously coming in, the drafting of Ozzie Trapillo, although it looks like the Bears are going to make a huge mistake in allowing Braxton Jones to be the starting left tackle, which I think is a disaster. But Caleb has come in and he's, I think, over the series of training camp, we've kind of reached the sort of just gone past the midpoint now. He is getting better and better and learning the offense. The install is going well. He's picking it up. Yes, he's making mistakes. And that viral clip from the other week, that's one little clip taken out of context for the whole thing. And that's the danger with social media. That's the danger with any of this stuff, is this whole situation where stuff gets seen on social media and it gets blown out of all proportion. You've got to look at what the reporters are saying, what Ben Johnson is saying, what Caleb is saying, what we're seeing. Now, there's a lot of hype around Tyson. But, Tyson, he's a backup. He's not going to be anything other than backup. And all these TB17 crowd that want him to be the starter, guys, you're living in fantasy cuckoo land if you ever think Tyson Bagent's going to be the star for the Bears. Caleb Williams is the guy going forward. Now, the last 2 days in the last 2 days in practice, he has been a star. He's been the step up. He's been the top man in the 2-minute drill. He's obviously led the Bears offense exceptionally well. He has been absolutely outstanding in doing. And the partnership between him and Roma Dunze has been brilliant. Really, really brilliant. Apologies if you can hear the washing machine in the background, by the way. I'm filming this in the kitchen whilst I'm still setting up in the new home. But yeah, him and Roma Dunze are really developing an effective partnership. Something that I think there was hope that when they took Roma Dunze in the first round alongside Caleb, that was something that would happen, that you get a quarterback and a wide receiver, very much in the kind of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, that would mature together, that would grow together. And Rome and Caleb certainly look to be doing that. Now, offensive lineman Jonah Jackson, who obviously has been at Detroit with Jared Goff, has been in LA with Sean McVay and Matt Stafford, had this to say about his quarterback. He says, I think he's been on his stuff since day one. I've been around veteran quarterbacks my entire career, and he has the same way about himself. Like these guys, he's a good leader. Guys respect him. Having a new offense is definitely something to adjust to, but I feel like he's doing great. So you've got a veteran, a guy like Jonah Jackson, who has worked, like I said, with Sean McVay, who's worked with Ben Johnson, who's worked with Jared Goff, who's worked with Matt Stafford, who is talking about Caleb as being up with those veterans, understanding, leading like those veterans, being a top guy like those veterans, someone who is adjusting to that new offense. And that's another thing you've got to take into account. This is a guy adjusting to a new offense, to a new way of playing, to a new way of developing the game. Caleb obviously is maturing. He is still young. He is still learning the game. But we've seen over the series of these training camps, and certainly over these last couple of days, a real shutdown of his critics, kind of saying to his critics, hey, fuck you guys, I'm coming through, I'm the man here in Chicago, and I'm going to take these Bears exactly where they need to be, into the playoffs, and to be a contender eventually for that Super Bowl. Guys, this is a good ringing endorsement from someone who is a veteran, saying how well he is getting on. And I've got to say, guys, I'm really impressed with what Caleb is doing. He is developing. He is getting better. And yes, there will be teething problems. He's still a young guy, still learning the game, still learning this offense. He will get there, though. And if you look at what he's been doing, look at how he's been playing, you will see that he is getting there and shutting down these critics. Now, yes, he has things to work on, processing speed, for example, noticing receivers being open, but that is something that JT Barrett, that Ben Johnson, that Antoine Randall, all these guys are working with him on, that are developing him. Also, as well, working alongside a veteran like Case Keenum as well is going to help Caleb in the long run. Guys, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I personally am very optimistic. We obviously get to see Caleb for the first time this weekend in preseason. Obviously, that'll be a good indication of how well he's getting on. Can't wait to see Caleb in action against the Bills, when the Bears take on the Bills. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Bears Huddle podcast. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Bear down.